So obviously, I think most people, when they come across Bitcoin, it's in terms of a currency unit and the media hype that it tends to engender, and that's all very exciting. But we've spoken about the blockchain, and this is the idea of a distributed ledger and a timestamp. And the idea of that is the real innovation, and that can be applied to all sorts of possibilities. So what we're going to do, we're going to move on to look at these either application layers that Louis mentioned, or protocol layers even, below the application layers. So we're going to move on to two of those. First, we're going to speak to Niki Wiles, who is communications manager on a project called Counterparty. Now, the idea of Counterparty is it builds on the strength of this incredibly powerful network that is the Bitcoin network. I mean, just as a comparison, the processing power that's applied to the Bitcoin network now, if you take the top 500 supercomputers in the world, take their processing power and then times that by 1,000, that's the amount of processing power that's protecting the Bitcoin network right now. So it's pretty strong, and you need to obtain more than half of that processing power again to compromise the network. So Counterparty is a project which takes the idea that the blockchain can allow you to transfer any asset or create any asset upon it. And use that as a way of transferring those assets and recording their transfer. So Counterparty, as Niki will explain, does just that. So I'll let him explain rather than me.
Great, thanks, Paul. I'm Niki Wiles. I am sort of the UK representative for an open source project called Counterparty. I also run the London Counterparty meetup group. So if any of you guys have any questions that don't get answered, or you just want to hang out, then please do come along to that. It's once a month in Holborn. But today is all about sort of Bitcoin meta layers. I think it's kind of hard to understand how this whole kind of Bitcoin 2.0 space is evolving without getting your head around these Bitcoin meta layers, because some of the most important projects out there fall into this category. So what I'll do is I'll talk a bit about what are Bitcoin meta layers and why are they so important. I want to hold up Counterparty as an example of a successful Bitcoin meta layer. I also want to throw out some use cases for Counterparty so you can get a bit of a sense of what's possible with the technology. And then last of all at this time, I'll give you a quick Counter Wallet demo. So Counter Wallet is our sort of web-based interface to Counterparty. Basically, it's a Bitcoin wallet that also has Counterparty features. So let's kick off by thinking about what is a Bitcoin meta layer. Well, essentially, a Bitcoin meta layer is a protocol that uses the Bitcoin blockchain as its primary data storage service. So it's kind of like using the Bitcoin blockchain as a database. So you've already heard from Adam about this idea of the Bitcoin blockchain, this globally distributed ledger running on, 7,000 different computers all over the world. Each and every one of those PCs or computers has an entire copy of the whole history of the Bitcoin blockchain, so every single transaction that's ever happened, going all the way back to the very first one. But of course, the genius of this whole thing is how the protocol enables the entire system to form a consensus about the state of the Bitcoin network and about the state of all the individual balances that it contains. That's the kind of Nobel Prize winning, achievement. So you might hear projects like Counterparty get referred to as embedded consensus systems. And the reason why is because projects like ours sort of kind of piggyback off of this incredible consensus-forming property that the Bitcoin network provides. And it leverages that to offer some really cool functionality. And the way it basically does it from a technical point of view is by broadcasting transactions onto the Bitcoin blockchain that kind of aren't real transactions. They're sort of dummy transactions. And if you kind of look inside those transactions and do some decoding, you'll find all the instructions that actually correspond to the Counterparty transactions. So In terms of Counterparty itself, as an example of a Bitcoin meta layer, what we're really trying to do is to extend the functionality that Bitcoin offers to provide really a fully fledged peer-to-peer finance platform. So the kind of dream is to make it so that anyone with an internet connection is able to trade, speculate, and hedge risk in a way that is completely peer-to-peer, extremely cheap, and involves no middlemen or third parties whatsoever. So that's the idea. And how are we doing this? Well, we've been rolling out functionality. These are the three main use cases for Counterparty. There are others, but these are the three main ones. We have user-defined assets and tokens. There's our peer-to-peer decentralized exchange, and also peer-to-peer speculation and hedging. So I'll just quickly talk you through each of these, and then we'll try and do a demo. So first of all, looking at user-defined assets and tokens. So Counterparty makes it really trivial for you to create your own token, kind of like your own cryptocurrency almost. And the way it works, and I'll demo this in a few minutes, is you simply give your token a name, and then you decide how many of that token you want to mint. You pay a small fee to the network, and then the system will give you that token in that quantity under your control, and then you can distribute it however you like. And when you have the token, you can use it to really represent anything at all of value. So it could represent fiat currency, US dollars, Swiss francs. It could represent digital currencies. If you're a digital currency broker, you might want to represent Dogecoin or Litecoin or some other alternative cryptocurrency. They could represent commodities. So if you're a precious metals dealer, you might want your tokens to represent, say, ounces of gold that you have stored in a vault somewhere. Or they could represent financial contracts, like derivatives or bonds. They can even represent shares in company stock, even shares in your own company stock. So setting aside for a minute that it's possible to use Counterparty functionality in ways that might put you in breach of securities law in various different jurisdictions, Counterparty makes it trivially easy for you to run a kind of crowd equity or crowdfunding campaign. So you'd simply mint a token that represents equity in your own project. You would sell that token to your backers through our peer-to-peer decentralized exchange, get the money, build your project, and then later on, Counterparty even has a little feature that enables you to pay dividends to your shareholders to reward them for their participation. So let's talk about the P2P decentralized exchange. So traditionally, when you're trading online with people that you don't already trust, there's going to be some kind of third party involved, some sort of intermediary, say an exchange. And this person's going to kind of sit there between you and the people that you're dealing with. They're probably going to insist that you hold all of your value, all of your funds with them for the duration of the trade. And they're probably going to charge you some transaction fees too. So with Counterparty, what we're trying to do is try and remove the risk that's involved in doing that and the fees involved. Because how do you know you can really trust that exchange website? They could be, 2 weeks away from being, put out of business by the FCA. There could be all kinds of problems there. So the way Counterparty works is that you trade peer-to-peer, and when you're doing so through the Counterparty decentralized exchange, you never need to be concerned about whether or not the person you're trading with is trustworthy, because the Counterparty protocol itself acts as an independent escrow agent that you neither need to trust nor pay. In fact, the only payments that you have to make are that you have to attach enough Bitcoin transaction fees to your order to make sure that your order to buy or sell makes it onto the sort of decentralized order book. And it's a similar kind of story for peer-to-peer speculation and hedging. We're trying to remove this idea of having to park your funds or your wager with, a brokerage or a poker site or Betfair and having to pay them fees. So when you are betting through the Counterparty system, your funds are always within your control. They're always with you, but they're put out of your control because the system itself will escrow them. and it will escrow them until the bet is settled by a piece of information being broadcast into the system from outside. We're currently offering binary bets and also costs for different style contracts, and there's more financial instruments on the way. So really it's user-defined assets and tokens, peer-to-peer decentralized exchange, and peer-to-peer speculation and hedging. So that's it for the quick description of Counterparty, and if Paul's ready, we can try and show you a quick demo. So what you're looking at here is Counter Wallet. This is our web-based wallet. In order to sign into Counter Wallet, you're going to use a secret 12-word passphrase. And when you create your own account, it will generate for you a secret 12-word passphrase that you'll have to store away. Incidentally, when you're using Counter Wallet, none of your personal information ever actually leaves your PC. Everything is done securely, locally on your own computer. So Paul's just logged me in, and you can see here in Counter Wallet that we have essentially kind of 3 addresses, and you can see the actual Bitcoin addresses here. So remember that Counterparty is built as a layer on top of the Bitcoin protocol. So when you're dealing with Counterparty, you're always still dealing with Bitcoin addresses. But what's kind of a bit different is you can see different assets in here. So that's BTC, that's Bitcoin, obviously. There's a small amount of Bitcoin in that wallet, about 7 milli Bitcoins. That's 7/1000th of a Bitcoin. There's also a second asset in here called XCP. XCP is the native currency of Counterparty. It has a bit of a special place in the network. It's used for a couple of things. Firstly, a little bit of it is destroyed every time an asset is created. So that means that the currency is slightly deflationary. And secondly, it's also used for settling bets. Down here in the second address, you can see a custom currency called Scrum Coin. So this was the currency that we created during a demo for Coinscrum a few months ago. So what I'll show you now is just 2 really quick things. First of all, we'll create an asset, create a token. And secondly, we'll make an offer to sell some Scrum Coin through the decentralized exchange. Yeah, okay. So what we'll do is pop in here. I'm going to go to create a token. So the first thing I have to do is decide what I'm going to call the token. Let's call it maybe FinTech. All right. I'll give it the same description. Now we decide how much of this token that we actually want to mint. So I might create, say, 1,000 units of it. There's a little checkbox here that says make divisible. So I can choose for my token to only exist in kind of whole integer quantities, or I can make it divisible up to 8 decimal places of precision like Bitcoin is. I'm going to make this divisible. This little box here called Make Callable, what that basically is, it's a way for you to give yourself, when you create the token, an option to buy back that token, or those tokens, at some future date for a particular price. I'm going to leave that blank. So let's go ahead and create this. So what's happening now behind the scenes is that instruction to do that creation has been sent off to the whole Bitcoin network. And hopefully within about 10 minutes, it'll get picked up by a miner, processed, and then folded into a block. And at that point, we should see the asset appear right here. So the second thing I said we'd do is to do a quick order on the decentralized exchange. Let's try and sell a little bit of Scrum Coin. So I'm going to go to the exchange. I'm going to go to markets. So you can see all the top market pairs over here. I want to select the Scrum Coin Bitcoin market pair. So I'll start typing. There it is, Scrum Coin. So I'll select Scrum Coin, and let's choose Bitcoin as the second market pair. Everything will update, and then if I can scroll down slightly, You can see that there's absolutely no market activity in this instrument right now, but hopefully we'll be changing that. Okay, so all I have to do is I've got to decide what price I want for my Scrum coin. Let's say 1 milli Bitcoin seems like a reasonable price. So let's do that. You reckon more? Thousands. How many we're going to sell? Well, we only minted 1,000. That's all we can sell. So maybe we'll blow the lot. So what I'm doing here is I'm saying, let's sell 1 Bitcoin's worth of Scrum coin at the price of 1 milli Bitcoin. That's 1,000th of 1 Bitcoin per Scrum coin. You're with me? Cool. So I'm going to hit sell. I'm going to confirm the order. And now it's a bit of a waiting game for when the next block gets confirmed. It could be 10 minutes or it could be half an hour. Maybe if we have time, we can look back and see if it's worked. But that's it from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Niki.